All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? This time we're going exploring cybersecurity, AI, and just a touch of geopolitics, for flavor.
Always a good mix.
Always, always. We've got a whole stack of news, blog posts, and some pretty in-depth analyses, all from the week of December 9th, 2024. So buckle up. We're about to see what's really driving the digital world right now and how it all, well, connects back to, you.
Yeah, because it's not like the old days where you just had to worry about some, I don't know, virus on your computer, the stuff we're looking at this week. It's about how data, tech, and even global power all kind of,
Intertwined.
yeah, exactly, all intertwined.
So basically what we're trying to do today is give you the knowledge to, like be in control in this whole new digital world.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about like the way ransomware is changing those legal headaches that AI is causing and like how can you actually take charge of your own cybersecurity, especially with so much stuff in the cloud these days.
Yeah, and speaking of ransomware, I got to say, one report from CSO Online really got me thinking. It said some of these attacks, they're not even asking for ransom anymore.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they're just straight up wiping data, just poof, gone.
Okay, that is like seriously scary. But why though? Why would anyone just want to cause chaos for like no obvious reason?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? Some experts think this might be like the rise of these hacktivist groups, like they use data destruction as a way to protest or make a big statement, a political statement.
So it's more about like sending a message than actually like making money.
Exactly. It's about disruption.
Yeah.
And, if you think bigger picture, even nation states might be shifting tactics. Think about it. Data destruction, it could cripple infrastructure, cause chaos,
Yeah.
mess with entire economies, and it doesn't leave a money trail, which is,
Oh, yeah. That's smart, but scary.
it's super sneaky.
So even if you have backups, we're talking serious downtime, reputation damage, and like even losing essential data.
Absolutely. This is way beyond just some theoretical threat now. Imagine a hospital, right, and they suddenly lose access to all their patient records.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Or think about the power grid going down because of some targeted attack. The
Mhm.
effects are, well, they're pretty devastating.
That makes me think about what happened with the Romanian presidential election.
Oh yeah, textbook example of how cyber attacks can just totally throw a wrench in a democratic process.
I mean, CNN even reported that the Romanian Constitutional Court had to like completely annul the first round of voting because they suspected Russia was meddling.
Wow.
Yeah, talk about chaos, right?
It's crazy. And, take that same scenario and apply it to, let's say, your bank or one of those social media platforms you use every day. That's the level of disruption we're talking about here.
Okay, that's definitely food for thought, a little bit scary food for thought. But so what can we like everyday people actually do to protect ourselves in this new world where data can just disappear like that?
The best thing you can do is be proactive. Get ahead of it. Think about like all the data you've got stored online and imagine if it was just gone tomorrow, poof, what would you lose? Back up your important files and think about using cloud storage, especially those services
Yeah.
that have really strong security, and version history.
So using the cloud could actually be safer than keeping everything on like a hard drive at home?
It often is, yeah. Cloud providers, they pour tons of money into security, and they've got the resources to bounce back from an attack way better than any of us could on our own. But got to make sure you pick a provider with a good reputation and, use strong passwords, enable all the security settings they offer.
Okay, so be proactive, spread your data around, and don't just assume someone else has got it covered.
Exactly. Keeping your systems safe is super important as businesses rely more and more on digital systems, and that's where turnkey cybersecurity can really help.
Yeah, we're here to help small businesses just like yours make sure they're safe and sound in this crazy world of cybersecurity. And we offer a whole suite of services specifically tailored for you. So that's ensuring CMMC compliance and doing penetration testing. We also run vulnerability scans, and we can help you develop a comprehensive risk assessment.
And it doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
We handle incident response, should the unfortunate happen, and we guide you through migrations like GCC. We just want to make sure your transitions are smooth and that you're secure.
It's all about peace of mind, right? You focus on what you do best, running your business, and we'll make sure that your digital world is safe and sound. All right, let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk about AI.
Yeah, this is another area where, like, the potential is amazing, but the real-world risks, they're getting harder and harder to ignore.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot about this explosion in AI-powered scams. And we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill phishing emails here. These are like,
Next level.
yeah, next level.
Oh, absolutely. The techniques they're using are evolving ridiculously fast. Have you heard of those generative adversarial networks, those JANs?
I think so. Vaguely. Remind me.
So basically, you've got two neural networks, right? And they're kind of pitted against each other. One creates stuff like images or audio,
Hmm?
and the other one is trying to figure out if it's real or fake.
Like a constant competition.
Exactly. And this back and forth, it pushes them both to get crazy good. And that's how you get those like super realistic deep fakes. The
Yeah.
ones that are basically impossible to tell they're fake.
Ah, right, right. That's how they make those videos where it looks like someone is saying something they never actually did.
Bingo.
Pretty scary stuff.
And it goes way beyond just deep fakes. AI-powered phishing attacks, they can actually analyze how you write, like your style, and then create these super personalized emails that look like they're from someone you know. That makes them way more likely to trick you.
The record had some examples that were, I mean, they were really unsettling. Voice cloning, AI created websites that are just
Mhm.
designed to steal your info. It's like something out of a movie, but it's happening right now.
And then there's that CEO scam where AI pretends to be a high-level exec to, trick employees.
Oh, yeah, that's messed up.
It's crazy effective. Imagine getting an email or even a phone call that sounds exactly like your boss asking for some, urgent financial info.
Whoa, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's clear these AI scams are getting harder and harder to spot. But what about like the legal side of all this? It seems like the law is always playing catch up when it comes to technology.
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely a work in progress, but we are seeing some interesting cases pop up. Like
Hmm.
there's that Moffat v. Air Canada case.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that one. But wasn't that about a chatbot that gave some bad information? How does that tie into these scams we're talking about?
It's connected because the court basically said that the airline, Air Canada, they were responsible for the info that their chatbot was giving out. It set a precedent that companies, they're liable for the accuracy of what their AI systems are saying, even if it's a mistake.
So if a company uses AI and it ends up like accidentally helping someone commit fraud, they could be in trouble. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it sets a precedent that companies need to be super careful about how they build and use their AI, make sure it's not being used to mislead or hurt people.
That makes sense. But what about those cases where the AI is built for bad stuff on purpose right from the start? Like those AI-made phishing websites?
That's where things get really tricky. It's this whole gray area of legal and ethical responsibility. Like those lawsuits against Character.ai, for example. They have these AI chatbots, and they're getting sued because people say their chatbots actually encourage harmful stuff.
Right, right. I remember those cases. One was about a chatbot that supposedly encouraged self-harm and even suicide. And then there was another one where a chatbot allegedly contributed to a teenager taking their own life. That's awful.
It really highlights, I think, the ethical dilemmas that we're up against as AI gets more and more woven into our lives.
Hmm.
Like, if a chatbot gives someone dangerous advice, who takes the blame?
Hmm.
Is it the platform, the developer, the person using it?
Those are some tough questions, and it feels like we're in totally uncharted territory here.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's not just about who gets sued, it's about the ethics of building and using this powerful technology.
Hmm.
How do we make sure AI is a force for good? How do we balance innovation with safety and responsibility?
That's something we're going to have to keep figuring out as AI keeps changing. But before we go down that rabbit hole too far, maybe we should come back to something a little more practical, like
What?
what can we do, each of us, to stay safer in this digital world that's changing so fast?
Good point, yeah. It's important to make this stuff personal. A good place to start is understanding this idea of shared responsibility when it comes to cybersecurity. Especially with all these cloud apps, SaaS, all that.
Wait, shared responsibility? What does that even mean?
Well, a lot of people think that when they're using an app that's, cloud-based, the company providing it, they're the ones who have to keep your data safe.
Right, that makes sense.
But it's not really that straightforward. It's more like this shared responsibility matrix, where both the provider and the person using the app, they both have a role to play in security. That cybersecurity blog, they had a really good explanation of this whole concept.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see how this can get a little messy. Can you give me like a real-world example of what you mean?
Sure. Let's take multi-factor authentication. A lot of those SaaS providers, they offer it as a security feature, but a lot of times it's not actually turned on by default.
Yeah, I've seen that. And sometimes it feels like you need a computer science degree just to find the setting to turn it on.
Exactly. So the company provides the tool, but it's really on the user to, understand why it's important, turn it on, and then, of course, use it correctly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. What about things like data backups? Like if my stuff's in the cloud, isn't the provider handling that?
Well, it depends. Some providers, they do automatic backups and have ways to recover your data if something goes wrong, but you really need to look into what they guarantee and whether you need to do your own backups, just in case.
So even though my data's in the cloud, I still need to think about backups.
Yeah, it's kind of like renting an apartment, right? The landlord takes care of the building's overall security, but you're still responsible for locking your own door and, keeping your valuables safe.
Oh, okay, I get it now. So how can we be more, I guess, proactive about this whole shared responsibility thing?
Don't be shy about asking questions. Like when you sign up for one of those SaaS products, ask them for their shared responsibility documents and really take the time to read through them. Understand what they're doing to keep your data safe and what you need to do on your end.
Okay, good tip. Knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
All right, before we move on, I wanted to circle back to those legal issues around AI. There was another case in that cybersecurity blog that really stuck with me.
You're thinking about the case where a teenager was allegedly influenced by a chatbot to hurt himself and his mom because she was, trying to limit his screen time, right?
Yeah, that one. It's scary to think that a chatbot could have that kind of influence over someone, especially a teenager.
It's definitely a complex case, and it raises a lot of questions about like how we design AI ethically and the potential consequences if we don't really think about what we're creating. Like, if a chatbot can give harmful advice or even encourage illegal stuff, where do we draw the line? Who's responsible?
It feels like we're in this AI Wild West right now, where the technology is just racing ahead, and the law and even our sense of what's right and wrong, it's all struggling to keep up.
That's a good way to put it. We really need to have these open, honest conversations about AI as it becomes more and more a part of our lives.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Wild West, the Record had a really interesting article about that Europol operation that took down a huge pirate IPTV streaming ring.
Oh, yeah. That was a massive bust. They were pirating, what was it, over 2,500 channels, mostly sports, and streaming them to like 22 million people.
And they were making a killing, over $250 million a month from subscription fees.
Crazy, right?
It's incredible how organized these pirate operations have become and how much money they're making. It's not just some kids messing around in their basement anymore. This is big business, international, organized.
And it's not just about the money. Remember, they found drugs, guns, and cash during that raid. But the thing that really struck me was the estimated lost revenue for legitimate providers. Like over 10 billion euros just gone.
Wow, that's a huge number. It really shows you how piracy hurts content creators, businesses, whole industries even. But it also makes you wonder about access and affordability.
You mean like if people are willing to pay for pirated content, maybe it's because the real stuff is too expensive or hard to get?
Yeah, exactly. It's complicated, no easy answers.
Mm-hmm.
But just going after pirates, that's not enough. We need to figure out why people turn to piracy in the first place.
That's a really interesting point. It's not just about good guys and bad guys. It's about understanding, like, the bigger picture.
Right.
Speaking of complicated situations, what's the deal with the Texas Attorney General? He seems to be on this crusade against big tech.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. The Record reported that he's looking into companies like Reddit, Instagram, Discord, even Character.ai.
Whoa, that's quite a list. What's he going after them for?
He's mainly using these laws, Scope E and TDPSA, that are meant to protect kids' data online.
Hold on, Scope E and TDPSA, those acronyms are a mouthful. What do they actually do?
Scope, that's the Texas Social Media Platform Censorship Act, basically. It limits how much social media companies can control what people post. And TDPSA, the Texas Data Privacy and Security Act, that one's all about keeping the personal data of Texans safe. The Attorney General, he's saying these companies aren't doing enough to protect kids, that they're breaking these laws.
So his argument is that these platforms are putting kids at risk.
That seems to be his main point. He's already sued TikTok and got a big settlement from Meta, Facebook. But what's interesting is that he didn't mention Twitter at all.
That is weird. Is there a political angle here, maybe?
It's possible. He's a Republican. And Twitter has been a target for a lot of conservatives who say the platform is censoring them.
So this could be more about politics than actually protecting kids.
It's hard to say for sure, but leaving Twitter out of it, that definitely raises some questions. It'll be interesting to see how these investigations go and what they mean for the tech industry as a whole.
Yeah, it feels like tech, law, and politics are all getting tangled up together, and it's not pretty.
Definitely not. And the stakes are high. These cases could set precedents that really shape the future of online platforms and how they interact with, well, all of us.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Speaking of high stakes, let's talk about Apple. They've always been really big on user privacy, right? But there's a story recently that made me wonder about that.
You mean that lawsuit from an Apple employee who's not happy about how the company monitors its employees? The one that was in that cybersecurity blog post.
Yeah, that one. Apparently, Apple wants its employees to use these super locked down devices for work, which I get it to a point. But they're so restricted that a lot of employees end up using their own personal Apple devices to get their work done.
And to do that, they have to agree to some pretty intense monitoring policies. Basically, Apple can search anything on the device or in their iCloud account, even when they're not at work.
That sounds like a huge invasion of privacy.
Yeah, it definitely raises some concerns.
Mhm.
It seems kind of ironic that a company that's so focused on protecting user privacy might not be doing the same for its own employees.
It's pretty hypocritical, isn't it?
It does seem like a double standard. It shows how important it is for companies to be transparent and consistent about data privacy, even the ones that have a good reputation for protecting user data.
It's a good reminder that we can't just take a company's word for it. We have to look at what they're actually doing and hold them accountable, even the companies we tend to trust.
Wow, we have covered a lot today. I mean,
Mhm.
from ransomware that just wants to blow stuff up to AI that's like blurring the lines between cool new tech and some serious real-world problems, and then, oh yeah, all those legal fights over privacy and online platforms. My head's spinning.
It really does show you how fast things are changing online. And I think it shows just how tough it is to keep up, adapt to this new reality.
So as we wrap up here, I got to ask,
Hmm.
what do we do with all this? Like, how do we actually protect ourselves in this crazy digital world?
That's the question, isn't it? And while there's no magic bullet, there are things we can do to be smarter and safer.
Like what? Give us the goods. Well, first off, remember that cybersecurity is a two-way street, especially with cloud apps. Don't assume the company has it all handled. You have to be proactive too.
So, like, read those shared responsibility documents, dig into the settings on your accounts, make sure multi-factor authentication is turned on everywhere, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And don't underestimate just being aware. Stay on top of the latest scams and threats. If something feels off, double check it before you click any links or give out any personal info.
So, like, a healthy dose of suspicion online.
Exactly. Don't just believe everything you see, especially when someone's asking for money or personal details.
Right, and thinking back to those AI scams, knowing how they work can help us spot them. Like, those deep fakes, they can be super convincing, but a lot of times they're trying to get a reaction out of you, make you emotional.
Yeah, they play on your emotions so you don't think straight.
Hmm.
That's classic scam stuff. If someone's pushing you to act fast or trying to like freak you out, take a breath, verify the info before you do anything.
So basically, we need to be like digital detectives, right? Look for the clues, question everything, and don't be afraid to ask for help if something seems shady.
Exactly. And remember, technology never sits still, so neither can we. Staying informed and being ready to adapt, those are the keys to navigating this whole digital landscape.
This deep dive has been intense. Definitely uncovered some unsettling things, but I feel like I get it more now, and honestly, that's kind of empowering.
That's what we're going for. Knowledge is power, right? Understanding the challenges helps us make better choices and stay safer online.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into, everything: cybersecurity, AI, the crazy world of tech and politics. We hope you learned something new and that you feel a little more ready to, handle whatever the digital world throws at you.
It's not just about keeping your gadgets safe. It's about protecting yourself, your data, your whole digital life. Be careful, be curious, and keep learning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Stay safe out there, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.